here. Stream looks like it should be back up again. I apologize everybody for dropping out here. I kicked something underneath the table on accident, and for some reason it just it restarted everything. And I don't know if I lost it all here. How did I lose it all? Shit balls. All right, there we're back on again. First, thanks. All right, cool. Yeah, see, it's all goofy. So hopefully, um, I wish I don't know what the hell happened here, dude. Yeah, it's got some shit going on here. But the stream's still up. We're up and going. So we left off on the Metallica album. Master of Puppets is like one of your first albums that kind of brought you to that next level of music. Now, with that being said, like what? So from Metallica, which direction did you go? What was the next band that you found? What was the next thing that you picked up on the heavy train? You know. Sure. There you go. Right. Do you remember what tour that was? Nice. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. 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 Yeah, because I mean they're like borderline punk too. They're like a crossover band from that kind of era too, right? So I mean, so that had to have been one of those things where you're kind of dabbling with those guys anyway if you're into the punk stuff because they kind of jump in and out of there through the 80s and shit, you know. Oh, nice. Sure. Right. Hey Jeff, can you actually hear us? Now? Can you hear Henry now? And is he cutting in and out, or can you not hear him at all? I don't know. Are you are on YouTube as well, huh? Um, should be, I didn't do anything differently as far as. Go ahead and talk, Henry. Yeah. Say it again, Henry. Yeah, what the fuck is that? That's weird, man. Now all of a sudden they can't hear you, which is weird. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know what's going on here. That's just fucking bizarro world. Well, you know what? We'll keep going here, man. So you kind of moved now with Sepultura, Napalm Death. Now were you playing music, through this whole time? When did you start playing guitar, and what what got you into it? Or was that your original instrument?
Guitar was not the original instrument. The first instrument that I ever tried playing was violin. Actually, I think I was about 10 or 11 years old,
Right.
and I started playing violin, and like wasn't bad. I was able. I mean, I only had it for a few weeks to a month. Not super long, but from what I remember, like in the lesson books and stuff, I was able to play like the really simple songs and kind of get through them. But it just didn't really jive. And then from there, I went to trying saxophone, and I didn't get much further than sounding like a fucking trombone. That was, yeah, I probably broke more people's eardrums than I did reeds, so it was not great.
Yeah.
Uh, and then from there, I had joined like choirs and stuff in high school and was like vocally trained or poorly trained or whatever. And then I guess like 10th grade, 11th grade is when I started picking up guitar, and that's the time when I was super into Nirvana.
Right.
And just like playing a guitar just felt right.
Sure.
And so that's the one that I stuck with, and then picked up drums, as well a little bit later on.
Yeah. So you were doing what you said. What, violin? Is that what you said?
Yeah, violin was the first instrument that I ever tried.
Okay. And how long did you play that?
Like a month, I think.
Yeah.
And then went to saxophone, and I think that one was just better for everybody that I just stopped playing that. Yeah, that one didn't sound good. And then yeah, just guitar after that. I remember my mom had played guitar when she was my age, and she was really good. She did a lot of like acoustic stuff. And so I just kind of grew up with guitars being around the house. And she unfortunately stopped playing like, when I was growing up. So the guitars were kind of just sitting. But I always remember being curious about them. And then when I actually decided to play guitar, I remember my mom she's like, why didn't you try that instrument first? We had that around the house.
Right.
So he's like, just spent $700 on that saxophone. I'm like, I appreciate that you kind of wasted the money on me.
All right.
But,
We're all good now. I figured it out. Thanks, Jeff, for helping us through this one. And I apologize to you, Henry. For some odd reason, like I said, I kicked the fucking thing underneath, and now all of a sudden you couldn't hear and all kinds of. So I apologize, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me here. You know how it is when it comes to technology, man. You end up kicking things or doing something goofy. Well, it is what it is. We're back at it. So she was like, you tried all these other things. You went with the guitar, and she was like, "Damn it, boy! You could have been doing could have."
Should have tried that one first. We had that one around the house.
Right. Well, I mean, that happens though. You know what I mean? At least you found something that you really, you stuck to, because you became a hell of a guitar player, and to be able to play guitar and sing at the same time, I always find it absolutely amazing, because like a drummer, I mean, learning how to play drums, they're doing this with one hand, and they're fucking, you know what I mean? They're kicking that kick drum, with the other one, and keeping the snare in between it. And for anybody that has never tried to play drums, you're sectioning off pieces of your brain to try to make it work in one fluent motion. And it's so crazy to me that shit, people pick that up and actually continue doing drums. And that, like with guitar, with bass, and someone, playing one rhythm and trying to sing a melody to it, to the, with your vocals. To me, again, that's cutting your brain in half, into little sections, and being able to do multiple tasks with that. I find that absolutely amazing. So, now you were saying that you were very into Nirvana. Was that some of the first stuff that you learned on guitar? Was that
Yep.
Like instantly you were like, oh yeah, I got to learn this shit?
Yeah, because I remember like when I first picked up the guitar and was like, literally right around that time, I mean, I'm not even kidding when I say this, practically all I had listened to was Nirvana.
Right.
Just all the time. And I had heard a lot of people saying that, like, oh, Nirvana's not good because it's really easy to play guitar and yada yada. And then it got me thinking, I'm like, well, maybe I'll learn some of this shit.
Yeah.
And, and it was, I would say it really, Nirvana really helped me, like, just learn how to just play the instrument.
Yeah.
Because, when I first picked up guitar, there's a lot of friends of mine that were really good at guitar and, were probably giving really honest and good advice, but they were saying like, oh, learn scales and learn all these techniques first. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, like, why? I just want to learn how to play the damn guitar.
Right.
And so the Nirvana stuff being really simple was nice because I could learn a couple chords at a time, and it's like, bam, now I can play a song, and now I'm learning how to utilize these chords in the context of a song, and instead of just playing them, and then the more Nirvana stuff I learned, then it's like, okay, like now I'm starting to understand song structure as a guitar player.
Sure.
And then you move on to the punk stuff, and it's like, okay, now you're taking the techniques that Kurt Cobain used and you're playing them faster,
Now, did you feel like when you, because if you're doing the Nirvana stuff and then went back, or moved forward to the punk stuff, that had to have been kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, I see where he got this from, because he does have so much punk influence in that early Nirvana stuff,
Yep, 100%. And it was really cool because you'd like read these reviews of these Nirvana albums and they say like, oh yeah, this is like, in this interview, Kurt Cobain said that like this band was his inspiration for like this song or whatever. And then you get into the punk and you start listening to like the Sex Pistols and the Stooges and
right,
like that. And you're like, okay, like you can actually hear, his application of like the different types of aggression and the vocal style and like a lot of the shit that he does, and like for me that separates Nirvana entirely in its own category from like Soundgarden or like the other, like Alice in Chains and the other grunge bands and shit, that just sounded, I mean, it just sounded like punk rock to me.
Sure.
But yeah, so
yeah, that's definitely that's where I always took it when I heard Nirvana was the punk influence from it. You know what I mean? And I guess I've always felt like Nirvana was more punk than grunge for some odd reason. And I know they were like one of the original like door kickers when it came to grunge. You know what I mean? They were the guys that really busted that shit open. And then you got Soundgarden, and then Alice in Chains, and it was kind of crazy because like Alice in Chains was doing the Clash of the Titans at that time too. You know what I mean? Like going around with all these thrash bands and shit. Anthrax and Slayer and Megadeth. I always felt like Nirvana was the one that was more, I don't know, more dirty in that way, I guess. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they had that punk influence that was so more standout than I always heard, you know, with Soundgarden and with Alice in Chains. To me, that was more metal or like thrash. I felt more of that in the roots of that music that they were playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, it's a really interesting, like, the grunge era is such an interesting, like, time when it, and I guess I'm talking more about like 89 to 90 when like grunge really started kind of, you know, coming up and doing its thing. Cause like, you know, in like 1988, and like actually honestly from like 87 to 88 is when the hardcore punk stuff started to die down, because that's
Right.
when thrash was like really fucking big, was that,
Yeah.
you know, the second half of the 80s. And then as punk is dying down now, these like punk bands are starting to, like, you know, you get the East Coast hardcore shit where it's like it's punk but like not, you know, it's just like that really kind of beat down fucking like ham-fisted, just angry, not even sure what it is, it's just hardcore. And then it's like all of a sudden now thrash is starting to kind of taper off a little bit in its own context, and now it's like, you know, you get that 1989 shit with like Nirvana's album Bleach, and like the Melvins were also very much an inspiration into that kind of grunge
Yeah.
scene. It was just, I don't know, it's like, you know, for lack of a better term, like puberty, you know, it was in that really
Yeah.
awkward growth stage,
Yep.
you know, tied between 2-3 different genres. And then just 1991 came around and that shit just took right off.
I think it was just like a perfect storm too. You know what I mean? Because if you think about, I mean, you know, guys like me and Rob Carlson, you know what I mean? Like we talk a lot about the hair bands and shit. You know, when we get together, last time I was with them, we're listening to Motley Crue and Dokken and shit like that. At that particular time, you know, Bon Jovi, Dokken, Motley Crue, Cinderella, all these hair bands were like, you know, Skid Row and all of those cats. They were playing, you know, fucking theaters, man. You know, or not theaters, but arena tours. You know, they're doing these gigantic arena tours. You know, Headbangers Ball was virtually, there was like, it was all hair bands with sprinkled thrash bands in the middle of it, and you know, some death metal bands that were just coming up back then, and it was like a perfect storm when you know, Nirvana hit that in you know, with Smells Like Teen Spirit, because it was like, I always, you know, when I was in high school, it was like you heard Dead Kennedys, you heard you know, you heard Sex Pistols, and you heard those type of bands, and it was plentiful. There was a ton of punk bands back then, and then, you know, you hear the crossover bands like DRI, and then you know, the Cro-Mags, and then you know, that hardcore stuff, and it was like bridging the gap. You know, we already said Suicidal Tendencies. That, you know, that was one of the bands too that kind of springboard the heavy metal forward. You know what I mean? And then it was like thrash metal, and it was like, I felt like grunge really took the wind out of the thrash metal and death metal sales and hair bands. I mean, it basically crushed hair bands, you know what I mean? Because it was a perfect storm, because it was a throwback to those punk rock bands, right? It was a throwback to those cats. They used a lot of that stuff. Well, Nirvana did anyways. And then, you know, like you said, the Melvins, Butthole Surfers. I mean, there was a ton of different bands that were like, you know, using these little pieces of different genres and pulling them together to try to see what they could make out of them. I think Mother Love Bone was one of them too. They kind of dibbled and dabbled all over with certain things. I mean, early Soundgarden had a bit more, you know, rough edges around it. But, you know, again, I always listen to Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and I think thrash. I think, you know, heavy metal. I don't think so much more as much punk as Nirvana did at that time. I mean, Bleach had a way more punk sound than metal, and then it was like the perfect amount of poppiness to with Smells Like Teen Spirit to just really grab people, you know what I mean, and kind of shove those hair bands out of the way. and it just blew up for those guys. And if you really think about it, I mean, yeah, there was Pearl Jam, and there was, Soundgarden, and, Screaming Trees, Mother Love Bone. I mean, even Blind Melon was kind of like right on the cusp of that shit too. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of a mix of everything. I just find it so crazy. I mean, because my daughter, the reason I'm just going on this about this Nirvana stuff is that my daughter is, she's 14, and she started listening, to Nirvana, and I'm like, she found Smells Like Teen Spirit and like played it over and over and over again, and whenever I push things on her, she shies away from it. So if I go, "Hey, have you heard this song?" "No, you should listen to it," and she, no, and she'll push it away. But I said that whole Nevermind album, I'm like, these are the guys that really, I mean, they turned music on their ear at this particular time. They're like the quintessential, what they would say grunge band, because they really knocked that whole genre right, out of the fucking park, and turned the rest of the music industry on its fucking ear, And so it was like, it took a couple weeks, and then eventually she just kind of, she was playing video games or cleaning her room or doing something, and she just put that album on shuffle. And you could just tell that it, the effect on a 14-year-old girl. And I mean, I was probably, 17, 18, right around that time, I think. And it was like, it did the same thing for me. Like, she listens to that shit religiously. She's got, Nirvana posters on her wall, you know what I mean? And to me, that's like, it's like a victory for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy it so much because she's right there to take a listen to something just a little bit heavier. You know what I mean? Like she's found a couple other bands, but anyway, we'll pass up on all of that stuff. But so when you found bands like Napalm Death and Sepultura and things like that, what was it that was it the technicality of it, being a guitar player and like, learning these things and slowly building up to, and you know what I mean? Because you did say that your ears started to want to learn more of this technical stuff. What was it that, was it that exactly, or was it, what more was it that pushed you into the darker realms of this heavy shit?
I think it was the aggression overall, the heaviness of it. Cause like, punk is, easily one of the most aggressive music genres to currently and to just ever exist in general. But like, it's in its own context. And with metal, like, just how everything is orchestrated and just organized in its structure, it's like, that was the main thing that really, really captured my attention, was just this insane speed and aggression.
Yeah.
And like, it just is so angry, and it really resonated with me. And, it was something that I could almost channel my like mental health issues and experiences into, and not only feel safe, but within the context of the genre, feel validated, to be like, wow, this is how I feel in a song, and it's beautiful. And so that's what like Napalm Death and Metallica and Sepultura, that's how it caught my attention. It was so fast. It was almost overwhelming at first. It's like, it's just fascinating. And yeah, it was very self-empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Now, being kind of, you know what I mean? Like, what did it take for you to, what did it take for you to get on stage after playing? Because you obviously you probably weren't singing right away. You were just learning your guitar and like learning how to play it and kind of getting into it and shit. Probably starting to headbang while you're playing and the reason I say that is I'm trying to learn how to play bass as well, and it's like I just, after a while, the repetition, the muscle memory, like I could see how eventually now you know the shit so well, all of a sudden you're moving and feeling it. You're not paying attention to where your hands are anymore. I mean, what was it to take you to get you on stage to do it?
Kind of, I guess nothing really in specific. It was kind of kind of developed over time. Like the first show, excuse me, I had a little bit of a bubble in my throat there.
Sure. From one of your roommates or what?
Well, you know, wasn't gonna say anything.
The protein, dude. It's the protein.
But you know, when I first started, like my first performance ever was actually doing a Jack Johnson cover for the high school talent show. I covered Banana Pancakes. And because I was also still am to this day really into acoustic music and shit too.
Right.
And so I started just strumming on the acoustic and kind of doing singer-songwriter shit. And the first show I ever played, like legitimate gig, was at this place called the Sunshine Kitchen Moonshine Lounge in my hometown of Brainerd.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was just covers, like Jack Johnson covers, and like, I don't even fucking remember. That was so long ago. But I did a couple originals in there. You know, I had written some acoustic songs when I was like 15, 16 years old.
Sure.
And very poppy sounding, but you know, kind of what I was into at that time. And then got used to just singing and playing and performing acoustically. And then as I got more comfortable with writing music and playing electric guitar, I was like, all right, I want to be in a band.
Right.
And then it just got some guys together and actually started, like, had the first gig. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to look up and see me. Oh, sorry, dude. So now being that you're in a pretty small kind of rural, more rural. I mean, it's not as rural as some places, but how hard was it to find other cats that want to play that genre, that even want to play music? Is it pretty tough up that way?
Yeah, it was extremely hard. And like at that time, that was still within the couple formative years of Coboloy with Josh and Adam Zeverson and Vince Verhouse. And so like they were pretty much the only metal band in, you know, the area, you know, with that you didn't have to take in, you know, roughly an hour drive to get to.
Right.
And then, because I think Forever and Gray was fairly close at that time, I think from Onamia, which was like a decent drive out. But yeah, it was pretty hard. There was, I had known a couple people that were into like punk rock and metalcore and stuff like that. And one of them lived about a half an hour outside of Brainerd. So he and I started jamming, and then a kid from his high school, who played bass, started jamming with us. And we actually had, that was the band before Pursuit, and never played a gig with it, but we wrote one song and I recorded it on this portable 4-track I had. And we put it out. The band was called Fetal Uprising. And it was just this little 3-piece hardcore punk band. Never played a gig, but kind of put that one song out. Probably got about 5 or 6 people that actually heard it.
Yeah.
And then kind of had a falling out with them. And I mean, fucking story of my life with bands. Holy shit. And so that one got kind of buried. And then later down the road, started Pursuit, which at the time was called Pursuit of Cash, and that was the band name for a long time.
Yep.
You know, and had same thing, just asked around. I was like, walk up to my coworkers, do you know anybody that plays the drums, that even owns a pair of drumsticks?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and jammed with a few people, and then had gotten like that drummer who was like a father at that time. So he just was like, yeah, I can't really commit the time to it, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then, so had a gig booked, and then my brother Sam actually ended up filling in and playing the drums on the first ever Pursuit of Cash gig. And that was, oh man, how long ago was that? Probably 2015, 2016, which like is not that long ago, but is at the same time, you know, it feels like forever ago.
Sure.
And
It's the beginning, man. It always feels that way.
yeah. And then we did that one gig. We played 5 cover songs. I think I actually remember the set list. I think it did About a Girl by Nirvana. Did California Uber Alles. We did Last Caress by the Misfits. Then we did Too Young to Die by Agent Orange. And then we did, what the fuck was it called? Fix Me. Did the Black Flag song Fix Me. And yeah. And then since then, I think the next gig after that was a year and a half later. And that was all originals except for, I think, 2 songs. It was a G.G. Allen cover and a Suicidal Tendencies cover. And then, yeah, since then it was pretty much that year, but a couple gigs later, 2016 only did 2 or 3 gigs with the band, but contacted Will Marvellis for the first time and went into his studio and recorded the band's first full-length album, which was the Obsessive Compulsive and Disorderly album.
Is there a place that people can actually reach that? I mean, that they can find that album? Got it on Bandcamp or anything?
Yeah, they can find it on YouTube. But yeah, it's not up on Bandcamp, unfortunately, but they can find it on YouTube. But people can listen to it, but it's not that great.
It's history, man. You gotta, and this is the thing. Like, you can go on my personal page, Facebook / Chilton666, or you can go on the Ritual Madness podcast Facebook page as well, and you can see the new Pursuit release that they did on 1459 Live. Will Marvellis and Dave Rabin have been doing these. They charge like $250 for 3 songs or something like that, and it's like 5 angles with great sound, and you can hear what Pursuit sounds like now. So if you go back and you take a listen on YouTube and listen to Pursuit of Cash and hear some of that older stuff, be prepared, because it is a huge leap from I remember seeing you guys, and dude, I've seen you grow exponentially in a short period of time, dude. Like, you came out of the box, you played a shit ton of shows throughout the one summer, and then, sporadic gigs, you guys were playing quite a bit, and that, dude, says a lot, and working hard and trying to keep this thing going. I remember you getting really frustrated with the situation with that particular lineup and having a lot of trouble, but making connections throughout the music scene, you know what I mean? Like, playing any gig that you could possibly play to just get out there. And you were doing it right, dude, because you're a very personable cat. You're a very likable guy. You're funny. You like to have fun. You know what I mean? Like, when you're out partying and having drinks and, doing whatever, you're personable, man. You put it off like, hey man, let's have a good time. You're having a good time with it. And that's the best thing. And you've made a lot of friends, dude, and I think that I've seen you guys grow. I think that one of the last times that I saw you guys play was at the Mosh Out Suicide, and you guys played both nights, and the first night was kind of like, it seemed kind of fluky to me. Like, you guys, you know what I mean? Like, you were kind of nervous, but you guys fucking crushed it, dude. You guys crushed it. I was like, yeah, these guys are really, really good. But this lineup here, you know what I mean? You kind of trimmed the fat on the old lineup. You got, you finally found a new drummer, and this dude is heavy as balls, dude. This cat, and a nice guy, man. When I met him, he was, Dalton's a good dude. All 3 of you guys in this band are salt of the earth type of dudes, man. You guys are all really cool. It was nice meeting your new drummer, man. He was super, super cool, man. And I think he fits and works really well with you guys from what I seen in that video. And like I said, folks, if you want to check out some of their new stuff, you can go to Ritual Madness podcast or listen to episode 235 on Stitcher or iTunes. or iHeartRadio, and I played a bunch of new stuff that was released. The new Mothwa, some new Beast Face, new Pursuit song, some volcano diving. So give them a listen, check it out, watch the video on Ritual Madness Podcast on Facebook. Take a listen, because dude, I honestly, like I said, I feel like you're doing the right thing, dude, because you're constantly really wanting to put your originals out there, and you're writing really well, dude. I feel like you are. I'm a fucking vocalist from way back in the day. I come from death metal roots, you know what I mean, and thrash metal roots. So I'm no great songwriter by any means, but I've been in the scene long enough, and I've had my hands in seven, 8 different albums. So, I've done some things. I've seen some things. So, I kind of have an idea of what sounds good and what doesn't, Yeah. So what kind of gear did you start with, dude? What was your first guitar? What was your first amp? And what are you playing now?
So my first guitar that I ever bought was like an ESP LTD. It was from a starter kit, so the whole thing cost like $200, and it came with like a strap, some cords, and a little like 6-inch practice amp.
Yeah.
And dude, I remember buying that shit. I was so stoked when I fucking bought that guitar. I like brought it to school. I'm like, yo, check out my axe. Like, check this shit out. You know? We'll walk around playing it, and played that for years. And honestly, like, I played that pretty recently too, dude. Like,
you still have it?
I still have it actually. It's very beat up looking now, but
you want to pull it out. I see you looking at it right now.
Yeah, I'll pull something else out. But
he's got sweatpants on. He's gonna make a tent out of those sweatpants. Hell yeah, dude.
Here's my Megadeth audition tape.
Yeah, the casting couch. This is Henry's first casting couch. Hey Henry, welcome to the couch.
Oh shit.
All right.
Yeah. So here it is. So here's the first guitar I ever bought. It was obviously all black when I got it, but it's accumulated a lot of stickers over the years. My favorite being this one, which I put on there. I bought when we played with DRI, which again, thank you so fucking much for hooking us up with that.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
But yeah, I got the 1459 tons of stuff. I mean, this thing's it's in really good shape, but like it's just got some scars from over the years. But
oh yeah.
Back when the band was called POC.
Look at that. Well, the coffin rot sticker, dude. That's now Coffin Rights. They changed their name to that shit. Don't ever take that sticker off of there though, dude, because that's so like I still have my first Coffin Rot shirt that I bought from those guys, and I just love that. I wish they would have never. I still like the new name too, and that band is awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, dude, this is the first guitar I ever bought, and this thing, like, it stood the test of time. I mean, this thing was, rehearsals, there was a year straight where, this was like the first year that Dalton started playing bass in the band, so we still had, our old drummer at that time, or one of our old drummers, and, so we were playing every single weekend. I was doing college, so it was like a full-time student, and then we were doing class, then it's literally like, oh, where are we playing this week? In Minneapolis or Duluth or like Fargo or Wisconsin.
Right.
Like we were all over the place. And this thing in the middle of winter was in and out of cars, in and out of venues being played. And it's like, it stood up. And this is like, I'm never going to get rid of this guitar. This thing is always going to be.
Never do, dude. Never. I know I've talked to so many guitar players that are still like to this day trying to find a replica or that specific guitar that they started playing on, like I have a buddy who started on a Charvel, and it took him years to find. He had a red Charvel and he sold it to another buddy, and then he pawned it, and then eventually he ended up getting that guitar back, but it's like it took him years and years and years to get that thing back. And so don't ever get rid of it. And I just wanted to kind of go back to what you were saying, man. Like anybody who's watching this video and is like, what the fuck can I do to get you know, like further in the scene and do things in the scene. Exactly what Henry was just talking about. He said, you know, they would get together after, you know, doing college, and he busted his ass being a full-time student and getting in there and still rehearsing and playing outside of his scene. You know what I mean? Cause he's way up when it, you know, as far as up north. He's coming down to the cities. He's going to Fargo. He's going to Duluth. He's doing all these, a little circuit. And people always ask me, like, what can we do? Get out of the fucking city, man. Go swap shows with people. You know what I mean? Like, go out and try to get down to Des Moines. Try to get over to, you know, Iowa and Omaha and, you know, all these places, Milwaukee and Chicago, and, you know, get out there and actually spread yourself out, man. Make sure you get your gear in order. You know, you got professional gear. You got your merchandise in order. Get out there and play, man. Put some work in, because, you know, guys like Jesse Watson from Incinerate, he's been playing in this music scene for, you know, 30 fucking years, and he's played some massive festivals, you know, and doesn't have a huge following here in his hometown, but has been out on the road and has toured, you know, been on big tours and kept going, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of bands like Witch Den, bands like, Endless Rain is out there doing things. There's a lot of bands in the Twin Cities that, you know, after the burial, they played here quite a bit, but then they just took off, you know what I mean? Like, they went out, and I know a lot of people's, you know, frown on, Buried Above Ground, but they were out there doing that shit too, man. You know, getting out on a circuit and trying to get on some of these tours and you know, spreading it out. That's what you got to do. It's all about putting in the work. So, what are you playing now, Henry? What are you playing through?
So the guitar, before I get into the amp that I'm currently playing through, the guitar that I am playing through is a Schecter Hellraiser that I bought off of a friend of mine that I met at MSCWM. So it's this thing here. So I've been using this lately for just all of the Pursuit stuff. This one is modded a little bit. I've dropped the Fishman Fluence in here just to get some more clarity and response out of it. And then I had some fretwork done to make it a little smoother. But yeah, this one, like, I know there's pretty mixed emotions about Schecters.
Sure.
Which, you know, it's whatever, you know, to each their own. But like, I'm really, really picky about necks, and I like that Schecters have a really thick, rounded neck. It seems to fit my hand more, and I don't know. It's one of those guitars, you pick it up and you play it, and then you just, without realizing it, you just never put it down.
Yeah.
So
what's the outline around the black of that guitar? What is that made out of?
I think that's marble.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would have to double check, because I haven't really, the only research I did on this was to like figure out the year it was manufactured.
Sure.
But, yeah, I think that's marble, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Well, that's it looks cool as shit, dude. Is it so compared to your first one, or how many guitars do you have? You're not like Rob, do you? You got like fucking 12 of them and shit?
Fuck no, dude. I don't even know how many that dude's got, but
dude, he's got many.
That are currently playable. I've got 4. I've got an acoustic and then 3 electrics, but the other 2 electrics I have, I don't really play, unfortunately. So I'm just kind of like to stick to the 2 that I mainly play, or, well, in this case, the one that I mainly play. It just kind of doesn't really leave my hands between both bands that I play in.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as the amp that I'm playing through, for Pursuit, the amplifier is a Bugera 1960 Infinium.
Yeah.
So that one's modeled after like the old Marshall Plexies. It's got the, you can jump your channels and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Got the EL34 tubes in there, and then the cabinet is just a Bugera 4x12 cabinet. And that one, it's a really, really loud rig,
nice.
Which I like.
Loud is good.
Yeah. The louder you play, the better you are.
Right.
Yeah. it's nice because like I've always been somebody that has preferred to add effects pedals to a clean amp. So that was part of the appeal of getting that that Infinium head, was that I just wanted a really clean and beautiful sounding head that I could, you know, plug pedals into and have and kind of just control the distortions and all the tones and stuff like that. Because like, you know, like there's a lot of really good amplifiers that have those built-in distortions, but
Sure.
I just, for some reason, I've always just preferred, for no particular reason, to just almost do it on my own with a separate like pedal board, and then
Sure.
you know.
What are you doing for? I mean, like, what pedals did you start with? Did you start with like a heavy metal pedal or some crazy shit, and then like advance to these fancy MIDI boards, or what?
What I actually first started out with was a single Boss DS2 turbo distortion, and the amp that I had originally was a solid state combo amp. It was a 2x12 Rogue amp, not the greatest. It was, at the time I bought it, I was like, I have very little money and this thing is really loud and really big. So so that was my logic for getting it, and that was a long time ago.
Sure.
But and then still, even after buying that Bugera rig that I played through, had just played through a Boss DS2, because I bought the Bugera 4 years ago, and then when I just wanted more crunch and more distortion, then I added an overdrive pedal to that, and pretty soon it was like, got a small board and added like a decimator noise gate to it because my amp is just loud as shit.
Right.
And then now I've ditched the Boss DS2, and for my distortion, I'm pairing an Horizon Devices precision drive with so that was my logic for getting it, and that was a long
That was me, dude. That was me. I clicked on the wrong thing there.
Oh no, you're good. But yeah, I'm pairing a Horizon Devices precision drive with an EHX linear power booster as an overdrive. The power booster is more of an overdrive than a distortion, but it's got its own nice and responsive tone to it. So I just paired it with that EHX, and then for some different effects, I play through a pitchfork as well, just for certain parts of our newer songs when we want a little bit more beef in the guitar tone. That I'll just kind of click on the pitchfork.
Yeah.
Yeah, still a pretty minimal setup, which is kind of how I like it. You know, like a lot of effects are cool, but for me personally, I prefer just a really nice, responsive, and crisp distortion.
Right.
Because I don't play a whole lot of guitar solos anyway, so when I do, I don't need to switch on many effects. They're usually pretty quick and pretty fast, I guess.
Do you do solo stuff in your cover band?
Yes. I'm the lead guitar player in the cover band.
Nice. So you actually get to chop it up a little bit more so than in your regular band.
Fucking 2 hours later.
That's me all day long, man. That's how you keep the podcast going a little bit more. Is you just kind of I make people look smart, Henry. That's how that works. I make people look smart. That's good shit. So what shows do you have coming up, dude?
So the next Pursuit show is August 22nd, and that one is local fundraiser for Radio Free Fargo. So that one's just downtown Fargo. And then after that, we are playing Northern Wisconsin Metal Fest, and then after that, we're back in Fargo at the Aquarium. So we are co-headlining a show with a death metal band called Maul, and then there's another local called Widow. And then the kids in Begravement are actually going to be coming up to Fargo to play in that show as well. So that's super cool.
Yep.
So, and then after that,
Is there a date? Is there a date on that Northern Wisconsin Metal Fest?
yep, September 10th and 11th.
Okay.
And then September 17th is the one at the aquarium that
Okay.
we're playing in Fargo.
All right. What do you have after that?
After that, I believe it's the 19th of October. We're playing in Minneapolis. Our drummer Wyatt booked that one, so I have to get the
Do you know where?
date on.
And with who?
What was that?
Do you know where and with who?
I forgot the name of the venue, but I know we're playing with Semtex, which I'm really excited about because I miss those fuckers.
Yeah, fantastic dudes, man. I love those cats. Each one of those guys I've known. Well, other than DZ, I haven't known DZ a long time, but Damon's a good dude. I really love those guys. I had Josh on the podcast not too long ago, and Josh and I go way back, like early 90s, late 89, early 90s, you know. I've known Josh forever, and Dennis and Mike Kern have both played in one of my original bands back in the day too. So I've known them guys for a really long time. I mean, Josh, we talked about it on the podcast that I did with Josh Kellerman. Josh was basically the sixth member of Necromus back in the day. He'd be sleeping in the basement where we'd be practicing. He'd be working nights or whatever, you know what I mean? So he'd be sleeping during the day, and we just practiced because he lived with my drummer at the time. So yeah, I've known them guys a long time. So those are cool cats, man. So I'm looking at your videos playing on my computer right now, and I see you playing that guitar you just held up.
Yeah.
So how long have you known Dalton before he started playing in the band?
I had actually only known him a year before he started playing in the band. So my first year ever at MSUM, I took the entertainment industries and technology program there for like the audio engineering, and I guess just with my physical appearance, definitely stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And then I saw Dalton walk in the room. He had short hair at that time, but walked in, and I'm like, all right. I'm like, this dude looks like he listens to metal, and kind of sat next to me. And I'm not going to lie, I thought that the first time we ever met that I annoyed the absolute shit out of him. But here we are. A few years later,
were you like, hey dude, how's it going? I'm Henry. You like metal, dude? Cause like I see you got that shirt on, dude. Look at my shirt, dude. It's pretty cool, huh?
Kind of. I was like, hey man, what's up? My name's Henry. He's like, sup? My name's Dalton, and he was probably stoned. But he was like, sup? My name's Dalton. I was like, not much. And yeah, it was kind of a similar conversation. I'm like, oh, like what kind of music are you into? And he was like, oh, I'm into metal. And he's like Tool and Primus are a couple of my favorite bands, and I was like, cool, I'm into punk. I was like, yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of Tool. And he's like, oh, all right. And we were just he's really not into hardcore punk at all. But so we were kind of just like, you know, one of those things where we generally like the same type of music. We just didn't really match up, but it was, you know, it was whatever. And we had paired up on some projects, and, you know, he played in a band called Sanga at the time. He played bass in it. And, yeah, we just kind of hung out here and there, did some projects together. And then, that following summer, conveniently, he had left Sanga just as we had kicked our bassist out at that time. So I was like, hey,
you want to join the band?
Yep. Yeah, like even though you literally do not like the type of music we played, you just want to play the band. And he was like, I mean, we were pretty good friends, so he was like, fuck yeah, dude, I just want to get on stage and play shows.
Right.
And, you know, to his credit, I mean, he put his entire heart and soul into playing those songs, and he didn't particularly care much for them, but he was up there and he's like, dude, I'm just having fun playing this shit. And he would apply his own taste into it. And then pretty soon you know, after a while we were like, all right, we got to write some new shit. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's time, you know?
Yep.
And so the first song that Dalton and I ever wrote together, like ever, was Scourge of Humanity. That was the first song we ever wrote together. And that's that way, I think May of 2020, when the pandemic and the lockdown first started, we recorded that song in Fargo and put out like a video for it. And so that was really cool. That one marked, it definitely marked the transition the band went in from punk into like thrash metal. But it was a really, really cool snapshot in time, because like Dalton and I had worked a lot with each other in school on like recording projects, and we had like composed some film scores for the film students and stuff there, but like we hadn't sat down and really wrote a song. And so Scourge of Humanity was the first thing that he and I wrote.
Right.
And so it's pretty cool to have it be kind of the transition.
Now, how about the new drummer? How did you guys catch up with those cats? Because I know you were looking for a drummer for quite some time, and kind of like, fuck, what am I gonna do, dude? I gotta keep doing this.
Yeah, dude, it was a pretty shitty time, because we had the drummer we had just before Wyatt was a longtime friend of Dalton's, and there was unfortunately a pretty emotional falling out that happened between the both of them. So between Dalton losing a really good friend of his and both of us losing the drummer for a band that we'd been putting so much love into.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty depressing few months. I'm not going to lie. There was one morning when I woke up and was like, why the fuck do I even do this shit anymore?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I hit up a few people from the scene in Fargo and was like, fucking, we're holding tryouts. Do you guys know anybody that doesn't already play in 6 bands that would want to
do
try out?
Yeah.
You know, and so somebody recommended Wyatt, and I was like, oh shit, okay. So I hit him up, and it was at that point I was just like, yeah, here's some of our stuff. Like, hope you like it. Let me know if you want to try out. And he was like, yeah, man, I'll check it out. And he was like, yeah, dude, sounds good. And then we planned to try out for a couple weeks later, and like he just showed up like right on time and set up, and he was super nice. And Dalton and I were optimistic but not hopeful. You know, we were still kind of down about everything.
Well, yeah, man. When you take a shot like that, I mean that was a pretty big deal, and I know you kind of glazed over it or whatever, but I remember having conversations with you, and it was a very very tense and difficult thing to do, because there was a lot of camaraderie and a lot of tightness with him and Dalton, you know, the drummer and Dalton, and then you became pretty close with the guy, and I know there was a lot of turmoil, not just in your band, but outside the band, and with, the way things were handled with him, not with the band, but just, other people having issues with that particular member in the band. And I've been in that situation where you write good music with someone and you work really hard with someone, and things work well in a business situation. But when it comes outside, and this is what a lot of people, when it comes to, now, in your area, like we've already kind of talked about this, it's difficult to find members to play in a band. Now, when you're in the city, you do cycle through a lot of different players. There's a possibility that you could jam with somebody, 5 years, and 10 years later they could grow and become a completely different person. Which hopefully that happens with that particular drummer. But here's the thing, man, is that you have to have some sort of decorum and professionality in this industry anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so say you have issues with another band that's in town, or you're playing on a show with 4 bands, and you're 2 out of those 4, and you have a member in your band that's, shit talking the other bands that are in the venue, and other people overhear them. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of professional issues that can happen, when you're trying to be professional and actually, fucking make something of your band and make something, and try to move forward as far as like, in a professional sense, man. You know what I mean? Like you want to rub elbows with the right people and become friends with those people so you can exchange gigs and move forward in this whole thing. And unfortunately, I've had guys in my band that just didn't hold up that end of the bargain. You know what I mean? Like they were off either making fun of someone or talking shit behind somebody's back or causing trouble, outside or getting drunk and acting a complete fool. So I know where you were in those particular times. And I'm not saying that drummer was that 100% because he wasn't a bad kid. It was just, things didn't work out. And business wise, man, you had to cut your losses because there are a lot of things that could have, later on down the road, it could have hurt your band. You know what I'm saying? And I know how difficult it was for you guys to not only find somebody to play those tunes, but somebody good enough to play those tunes. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude was no slouch that was playing with you before. He was a fucking solid drummer, very fast, but unfortunately, being young, sometimes you just, you let your ego get the best of you and things happen, dude. And, never be ashamed of that, dude, because honestly, man, this is what I think people should take from us talking is that, Henry, you're a hardworking kid, man. You fucking went to college for business and recording and shit. You stayed, consistent with your job and practicing, in your bands and keeping this thing going. And you found this other drummer, dude. And like I said, I think that you guys have grown a lot. And it's even cooler because you and Dalton, Dalton being friends with your ex drummer. And you guys all kind of coming together like that. I think from me looking inside, from the outside looking in, I think that you and Dalton probably became tighter as a unit. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
110 fucking percent.
Yeah. And that's what it takes, man, to keep this shit going. 'Cause dude, there's so many obstacles in this business, man. You know what I mean? And like just keeping, the love of music. And like you said, you were like, why the fuck am I even doing this anymore? You know what I mean? Like, why do I continue to do this? There's going to be a lot of people in this industry that are going to like shit on your creations or like try to trip you up in some way, man. I've had someone on the podcast that was kind of messed with by someone else in the music scene and often brings up the gaslighting thing or the goal, the person keeping you away from the music scene, you know what I mean? Not allowing you to move forward or like not giving you the credit that it's due, you know what I mean? Like they want you to open the damn show every single time. They don't want you to move to the second spot. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never been that guy. I mean, earlier in my career, dude, I was one of those guys that kind of, you know what I mean? Like I cock blocked a lot of people at the time, you know what I'm saying? But, I really know now what it means to like really give a shit about all of the bands around you. You know what I mean? Be thankful for the shit that you got, especially with this COVID shit that this happened.
Yeah.
We lost all of the live shows, man. Guys like you and I who thrive on this type of stuff, it's all gone. And some bands, they find another member and they continue to do things and they write this music and they continue to go. But I know, and as we open up even more here in the Twin Cities and throughout the nation, really, there's going to be a lot of bands that slip through the cracks, man. That just like, fuck it, I give up. You know what I mean? They don't want to continue going through this, man. And I give you mad love on that, dude. That you didn't give up and you kept going, and that's fucking huge, dude. So I'm really, really excited to see where you guys are going. With this new stuff. Now, we kind of touched on the school stuff. Now, you went to school for recording, yeah? Is that what you did?
Yeah, audio production and was my main focus, and then just like a background and knowledge in the entertainment industry as a whole. So I took some courses touching on like intellectual property law and like ethics in the industry and shit like that. So that's where like I had, before going to college there, had always been somebody that was really driven to reach out and do promotion. But after college is essentially when I learned how to do that in a really just professional and well organized way, you know, which is really nice. But also, you know, it helps us develop our tone and really helps us communicate when it comes time to record our album, to where, because Dalton was in the same program I was in college, so it's like having this knowledge and then taking this onto stage where we can sit there and say, you know, we construct our own tones based upon the knowledge that we had in school. And then when it comes time to record the album, now we can all sit down there and have a hand in how it sounds after it's mixed, you know, and we feel like it can sound the best that it could ever possibly sound for the time that, you know, for the time that was recorded.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's I mean, a lot of people don't look at it that way, you know. They weren't trained that way, man, and you know, it's difficult for them because they have to rely on the person, you know, the engineers and the producers and the people that are recording their you know, albums and stuff like that. Luckily, we have guys like Will Maravellis and you know, the guys at Signature Tone and all these, you know, there's some really good studios in town, you know, and luckily, you know, we're really fucking lucky around here, man. And a lot of people, you know, take that shit for granted, man. But I mean, just our group, you know, our core, you know, scene and people around us. I think we have you know, a good stream of fantastic studios to go to and record at, which is great.
100%.
Now, have you been doing anything with the stuff that you took in school? Are you doing any recording stuff right now?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like to be doing, but you know, kind of life happens and you readjust your priorities as you go along. So I've been wanting to essentially do what Will's doing and have my own business and, you know, eventually my own studio, but for the time being, you know, just whenever I get the opportunity, whenever somebody is comfortable of hiring me, I, you know, mix and master music for people. I do have a background in sound for film. So last September, myself and a couple of my roommates were actually hired to be core crew members for an independent film that was being shot in Wisconsin. So I was the sound engineer for that.
What's the name of that film?
The name of that film, the working title is Lake Story. I think when the final edit and final cut and stuff comes around, it's going to have a different title. But yeah, so it's called Lake Story currently. And then I'm just waiting.
What porn stars were in that one, Henry?
Well, you see, I think Ron Jeremy made a guest appearance.
Oh, not him! Oh my God, he's a bad. He's real bad. They canceled him a long time ago. The hedgehog is no longer allowed. The people will be really mad now. They'll be really upset, and they won't go watch it because the hedgehog done bad things to people.
Oh,
yeah, you know, he's got a fucking big old wang, like fucking. He's got really small hands. You know what's really funny is I met him in Sturgis in 2004, and he's a little dude. He's like,
really?
Yeah, he's a small guy in stature, so it just blows me away that he's like, I mean, he can't be more than like 5'6", 5'8". He's really not that big of a dude.
Oh, no shit.
He's got these little baby hands. His hands were tiny. I mean, I got big ass mitts, you know what I mean? But he had little baby hands, and I've been watching porn since fucking like early 80s. So it's like I've seen the hedgehog's hog a fucking cajillion times, dude. You know, so it's like it's really funny when I met him too, you know, like I shook his hand, you know, and he's like, "Hey, are those cock beaters?" He said, "Are those cock beaters clean?" Like we're in like a go-go bar, you know what I mean? We're in like One-Eyed Jacks or some shit. And there's like all these bike builders and shit around, you know. We met Indian Larry and like fucking, you know, Billy Lane and all these Paul Yaffe and all these bike builders. And then there's fucking Ron Jeremy. And it's really funny because we were in like the third story of this building. And somebody goes, "Ron Jeremy's downstairs." And it was like we all filed down all these stairs, and he's just huddled around all these people. So yeah. Sorry, I totally cut you off on that
You're fine, man.
on the production of that thing. So what exactly did you guys do for the score in that movie?
So I didn't play a hand in the score for that one. I was actually recording, like I was the boom operator for myself. I was the sound director.
Oh.
And my own boom operator. So I was recording in the field, and then once the film is once it's in picture lock, then it's actually going to get handed back to me, and then I'm actually going to then do like the post-production application of the audio and do all the syncing and things like that, and kind of create the soundscape for certain scenes. But the music score, I forgot the name of the individual, unfortunately, that was composing for this film, but it was outsourced to another person, which is totally fine, because I was actually really happy to just be, the essentially like the sound designer, director, engineer for that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good, man. That sounds like you got some fucking experience out of that deal too. You know what I mean? That's badass. Not a lot of people can say that they've been, they've had their hand in that type of stuff, man. That's good stuff. It's good. I mean, have you had any other offers to do any more stuff like that, or you have any other projects in the works with that?
With that same company, they were called Wham Movies, which stood for William Austin Movies. William Austin being the main owner for the production company. They had liked me, and like on the last filming day, one of the directors had come up to me and said that they were already planning a future project and wanted me to do sound for that. So
nice.
I'm not sure if or when that's going to happen, but so that's a potential area. But other than that, yeah, I'm just kind of the audio recordings and mixing and stuff. If I get offers, I like to take them, but the primary focus on that has taken a bit of a backseat just because of like the bands and stuff like that. I've just kind of been prioritizing my own musical endeavors over that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, as you go, man, things will shift, and I mean, and honestly, man, when I was coming up, dude, there were guys like me would make fun of guys in fucking cover bands, and as the older I get, the more I think about it, like, hey, man, these guys are making money, like legitimate money. I know I had a buddy who, $2,500 or more a night for his cover band to play, and they're doing fucking 93X covers, you know what I'm saying? They're basically playing radio rock, and they're making great money, and each one of those guys are and they're playing every single fucking weekend, you know what I'm saying? And doing what they love, playing music. And I could never fault a guy for continued to keep his chops up, whether he's doing his own band or playing in a cover band. I think that's it's not a bad thing, man. Make some fucking money. Do what you got to do when it comes to music, because, man, you worked as hard as you have to learn that instrument, man. You know what I mean? I know guys that are gifted musicians that have just completely given up. You know what I mean? Like they meet a gal, they stop hanging out with their buddies, they fall in love with this gal, they end up having a kid, and then they just don't play music ever again. And to me, it's a damn shame, because I really, really know some talented people, and I always just want to fucking whap them upside the head, like, man, what are you thinking? You are eventually gonna get sick of what you're doing and still play. You should always continue to play. It helps you grow as a human being, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like learning new things on the regular, man. I know you've got to be like me. Like, dude, there isn't much time that if I'm alone, if I don't have music playing. You know what I'm saying? Like there isn't much time that I don't have music in my orbit. You know what I'm saying? Like either in my headphones, on my radio in the car, when I'm driving for work, I'm constantly listening to something, whether it be podcasts or radio or you know what I mean? Or just a playlist of some sort. And I couldn't even imagine like living my life without any music. I know people that I've hung out with that, you know what I mean? Like I've been at their crib and they don't there's no music in the background. What?
Yeah, it's like weird.
Yeah,
it's like
what
it literally feels empty.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Like, how could you not want to, feel a groove inside you. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, my mom was like that, you know, she always had music playing, and it always brought joy to her, you know? So I've taken that from my mom and ran with it. And, you know, I've had a lot of introspective type of shit happen to me in the last couple of years, you know, with not playing in a band and having, you know, a good chunk of time without playing in a band. It's been humbling and kind of, you know, it makes me think I really wish I would have, you know, been a lot like you, Henry, where you're working on it all the time. You're not giving it up. You're focusing in on your playing, and you know what I mean? You're keeping your chops up. You know what I mean? You're doing this cover stuff, which stretches your brain because you're learning these tunes, and you know what I mean? You're heading, you know, playing lead guitar and this shit. And then you're doing your own personal stuff, with the Pursuit stuff. I really wish that I would have focused on being a vocalist and trying, you know, cause I was constantly writing. You know what I mean? Like, even when I wasn't writing, I still had, you know, you know, maybe I wasn't writing full songs, but there were things that I was still writing, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, you know, not a lot of it was fitting with the project that I was in at the time. But I mean, I still have books and books and books of lyrics and stuff. But I think back at like how much more focused I could have been on the craft. You know what I'm saying? And, being a young dude, man, you're on the right path to keep this thing going, bro. And I think, you know, it's very impressive, and, you know, something that I think people should strive for, when it comes to music. If you really want to do this thing, you really got to work for it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of one of them things. I actually had some questions that I was asking the guys in the Donkey Show, and I wanted to ask you one of these questions. Let me see here. Oh, here it goes. If you could be friends with somebody famous, who would it be?
Ooh. Do they have to be alive?
No, they could be dead.
Okay. I had to be friends with somebody famous. That's a really fucking tough question. Fuck, dude. God damn. Can I come back to that one?
Yep, you can come back to that one if you so what was your first Death album that you heard?
Ooh. Okay, so the first Death album that like I heard / like did a deep listen to was Leprosy.
There you go. I just listened to that album the other day.
Oh, nice. Yeah, dude. Fucking that was honestly, like, I think every Death album is fucking awesome, but like Leprosy is my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like the songs are really good, but there's just something about just how it was recorded. I don't know what it is, because it's not a bad quality album. Like, it's good quality across the board, but there's just some aspect of the tonality just doesn't appeal to my ears very much.
And do you like Scream Bloody Gore more than you like Leprosy?
Yup. I actually, out of the first 3 Death albums, I think Scream Bloody Gore is my favorite.
No shit.
Yup. And then Spiritual Healing would be my second favorite out of those first 3, and Leprosy being my least favorite. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love Leprosy. It's a fucking awesome album, but it's like definitely the one that I listen to the least out of the discography. But yeah, Leprosy was my first one, and I remember listening to that, and like on that first, I think Leprosy is the opening track as well, isn't it?
I'm not positive. I can look real quick though. Dude, I got to see him on that album. I got to see him on Leprosy. I got to see him on Spiritual Healing and Human.
Oh no, dude!
Yeah.
See, I wish I could have seen him on the Human tour.
Dude.
I wish I could have just seen Death in general, but yeah, fucking. I remember listening to Leprosy and just the first time experiencing like how Chuck writes songs, you know, and that slow. You have like the really, really driving drums, but the riff is pretty slow, and he's just doing his fucking screams. It's like, damn, this is morbid as shit.
Yeah. I loved his lyrical content a lot. His stories, it really, really painted a picture, and his enunciation of what he did with death metal. You know what I mean? Like his vocals were death, but I think that was the thing, like one of my first death metal bands that I had heard, because I was into thrash. I was into, Nuclear Assault, Overkill, Testament was a big one that I was into, Exodus, Anthrax, Megadeth was kind of one of those fringy ones for me, Metallica, Slayer, Forced Entry, Devastation, Midas Touch. DRI was a big one for me. I was really into, Four of a Kind was like one of my favorite albums as a kid. But when it came to, and Sacred Reich was another band that I really, really loved, Death Angel. But when I heard death metal the first time, I heard Obituary, Slowly We Rot. And Cannibal Corpse was one of the first bands that I had heard as well. And I just, even Napalm Death was like, I liked Napalm Death more than I liked Obituary. I liked Napalm Death more than I liked, a lot of that stuff. There was something that with Barney's vocals that still there was enunciation there that it was still crispy. You know what I mean? Carcass was a band that I loved musically, but vocally it was kind of hit or miss for me. You know what I mean? Like when it first came out. Now, when I heard Death, it was like ringing a fucking bell, dude. You know what I mean? Because it was heavy as balls. It was technical. It was like shit that I had never heard before at that heavy vault. You know what I mean? Like thrash has that skippity, 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 skip, 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 skip. You know what I mean? Like it's really fast paced where Death was just so more droney and evil and like real heavy. You know what I'm saying? And Death Leprosy was one of the first Death albums that I had heard as well. I think I went from Leprosy to Spiritual Healing and so on. And I think Scream Bloody Gore was my least favorite out of those first three. And it was like, just because of production and because it wasn't the same, like exact lineup, you know what I'm saying? It was like, there was something different for me with was it Rick Ross was in it in that time too, I think?
I think was the drummer Chris Reifert, I think was
Bill Andrews. Bill Andrews was the drummer for Leprosy and Spiritual Healing. I know that. But anyway, it was just Chuck's vocals and the way he wrote was something that really, really stuck out to me. Now with Obituary, when I look at Obituary, Cause of Death to really any other death metal band, right? In my, you know what I mean? Like Cause of Death was one of my favorite, it's still one of my favorite albums musically. Vocally, it just, you know what I mean? Like I started to get his growling, you know what I mean? Like I started to feel his vibe on that shit. Now Chuck Schuldiner, man, all the way through was absolutely amazing to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just again, I admire guys that can play that technical shit with their hands and be able to do what they do vocally too, man. And Chuck was just that other level, you know?
Yeah. He was one of the fucking best vocalists of all time for metal. And like, I remember, speaking of Leprosy, when Death was still with Combat, like on that Leprosy tour.
Yeah.
There's this video on YouTube. They're just doing Left to Die live, and Chuck's vocals were just absolutely fucking horrifyingly good.
Yeah.
Performance. And I just remember, he's got the, got the bangs, look like he just got done surfing and shit, and he's just up there, no effort, and just this voice that carries through the entire fucking venue.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, lyrically, I'm definitely there with you, because like, gory lyrics, which the first two Death albums definitely have, gory lyrics are like fun and everything, but like I don't necessarily care about gore. Like it just kind of is a thing. But like on individual thought patterns, like the song The Philosopher, it's so pissed off, but it's so like introspective,
right,
and angry, and it's like I love the lyrics from like Human and Forward on all of those Death albums, because you can tell that he's just experiencing life. He's getting pissed off, and he's dealing with it. And like these songs that he's writing and these lyrics that he's writing, like he's just, I mean, I don't know how to explain. You know, when somebody just says exactly what you're feeling in your heart, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like, when I read Chuck's lyrics, I'm like, dude, it literally feels like he's speaking to me. Like, I
Yeah.
know what he's about. You know, it's like you can tell he's writing about society, and he's saying like, fuck society and fuck people, but not in a much more poetic way is how he's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just kind of, it's like awe-inspiring. You listen to the songs, like, damn, this is heavy as shit. And then you like hear these lyrics about like grabbing hold of what drives your passions and not losing. It's like, what the fuck is this, dude?
Yeah,
That's
dude.
radish.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I'm looking at the lyrics for Low Life on Spiritual Healing. Those who are a waste of life use up air that others could breathe. Human leeches all around, superior is what they believe. Fake is the word you represent. Your existence on earth I resent. At the cost of others you get by. Each word that you speak is a lie. That shit's fucking absolutely amazing, dude. You know, Low Life, that's all you'll ever be. Lies in effect, that's what you like to see. Hiding behind material values that help you cover up your weakness. Never to charge, always to look for the easy way out of life. Pathetic excuse for a human being. Nothing to back you up, never giving you a second thought, thinking you fool the world into seeing something that you are not. Fake is what you represent. Your existence on earth I resent. At the cost of others you get by. Each word that you speak is a lie. You know, dude, that is absolutely amazing. And that album to me, man, really spoke out to me, because of some of the great tunes on there, man, you know. And James Murphy at the time, dude, you know, that was, you know, James Murphy was doing Spiritual Healing, and then he went and did Cause of Death, and then he played in Cancer, and he played, you know what I mean? Like James Murphy was the fucking shit back then, dude. And I got to see him with multiple bands too. I got to see him with both Death on the Spiritual Healing, and then I got to see him again with Obituary. So that was fucking absolutely amazing. I love that old death metal shit, dude. That's my jam, man. You know, all that Bolt Thrower and Pestilence and fucking you know, I mean, all those old albums, you know, the early Morbid Angels and the very first Deicide. Dude, the very first Deicide I stole from Musicland in Maplewood Mall. And I got kicked out of that music store, but I kept going back. You know what I mean? Like Deicide. I got that tape and I played it for so many fucking people, dude. I was like, have you heard of Deicide? And they're like, who? And I put that cassette tape in, dude, and just from the very get-go, you know, just fucking, you know, plowing people's heads off. You know what I mean? That was and seeing those guys live for the very first time was absolutely amazing. Back-to-back Morbid Angel Deicide, or Deicide Morbid Angel at the Milwaukee Metal Fest, dude. And they came out with these big fucking motocross pads on, and dude, spikes everywhere, and a big bag of guts they threw into the crowd. It had been rotting in the fucking sun all day, dude. And the whole crowd ran up on this bag and tore the bag apart, and it's just guts and funk everywhere. It's amazing.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Absolutely amazing. So again, why don't we talk about what you've got some shows coming up? Throw some dates out there again.
So September 10th and 11th we're playing Northern Wisconsin Metal Fest, and September 17th we are co-headlining a show with Maul in Fargo at the Aquarium.
And you got tickets for sale for that show, correct?
Yes, sir, and soon to have tickets for sale for Metal Fest as well.
Okay. And how can they get a hold of you on Facebook to get?
Yep. So they can get a hold of me on Facebook. I can mail or deliver physical tickets. Otherwise, on the event link on Facebook, there is a link to buy them online.
Awesome. Brian Owens, hello, buddy. How you doing? Crystal Shanka, thank you for joining us. Dennis Curran, thank you very much for joining us, guys, and saying hello in the chat. Lots of cool people dropping in. Jeff Rice from Simothwa, thank you very much for joining me all the time, dude. Favorite Nevermore album, ? I don't like Nevermore. Nevermore is not an acceptable answer. Okay, I got you, Jeff. I got you. What are some of your top? What's your top 5 bands, Henry?
Ooh. Top 5 bands. In no particular order, just the top 5 in general. Death for sure. Oh God, let me think here. Napalm Death would be another one. Just because of how impactful Master of Puppets was on me as a young kid, I'd have to say Metallica. And then, fuck me, dude. What are the others?
Fuck me, Alex. Fuck me, Alex.
Fucking Slayer would have to be another one.
Oh,
and
shit.
Then, like, Slayer was another insanely impactful band for me. And then,
What's your favorite Slayer album?
ooh, it's a tie between Seasons in the Abyss and Rain and Blood.
Oh, shit. That's the two fantastic albums.
Hell yeah. Let's see what the 5th fucking band would be. I don't know, man. Probably trying to think of the most impactful one, but there's so many of them.
The Fat Boys.
Honestly, not a metal band, but Pink Floyd.
Yeah?
Like, I mean, even lyrically and just emotionally, Pink Floyd
Yeah.
is a hugely favorite band of mine for sure.
Absolutely amazing fucking band, man. I have no gripes about any of that stuff. I'm into so much of that old rock and roll now, dude. I mean, there's been several. I mean, what I've downloaded in the last couple months, I guess I could go through my list real quick, but it's all over the damn place, dude. I mean, in the last like few days, I downloaded again Gojira's new one, Fortitude, and then from Mars to Sirius, I downloaded those again. This Popik dude who's a Polish rapper, I found this dude on YouTube and fucking just dig his shit. I downloaded a shit ton of Death. I got Symbolic, Individual Thought Patterns, Human, Spiritual Healing, Leprosy, Death Angel, the new Profs single. Here's one for you. Ready for the fucking World, dude. Oh, Sheila.
Yeah.
I mean, and then some techno shit from Dylan Francis, Morris Day in the Time, a couple of their albums, a couple Mastodon albums, and you ever heard of Reggie Watts?
I don't think so.
He's got a big old afro. He's like Indian dude. I think he's Indian. Anyway, he's got a couple different bands that I've been getting into this dude like really, really heavy. He does that late show with James Corden, that dude who does the fucking karaoke card thing. You know what I'm talking about? The talk show dude.
Yeah.
So he's the band leader for that dude's band. He's got a big crazy afro, and this guy like does this improvisational music shit that is just absolutely amazing, man. He's got a couple bands. One is called Wajada, which is Wajatta, is kind of like a techno, like soul funk type of thing. And then he's got another like full band called Mactub, and they've got like 6 albums that I downloaded. And then his solo album, Reggie Watts. But dude, Simplified is that album. But dude, I've been just really into that guy's stuff lately. So I'm all over the place, man. So I honestly, dude, I mean, the newest death metal stuff that I think I've gotten is the new Insidious Disease, which is the guy from Morgoth, and then the new Gatecreeper stuff. I got 3 Gatecreeper albums, and if you haven't had a chance to hear those guys, they're fucking mean.
Yeah.
Gatecreeper.
Gate Creeper.
Yep, Gate Creeper. You got to download that shit because it's got an old old entombed kind of guitar sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that real kind of tinny, heavy fucking. I mean, it's if you like Entombed, you know what I mean, like that it's got that sound to it, and they're balls to the wall heavy. Also, that Skeletal Remains stuff. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that band, they're fucking phenomenal. I really like very throwback to the old school death metal stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fucking speaking of, okay, so can you link Gate Creeper to me and some of those just like in Messenger or whatever?
Yeah, I totally can.
Speaking of like Fortitude and the new albums that have been coming out, dude, like holy fucking shit, how 2020 so far has been an insanely productive year for metal, dude. Like fucking it's one of those things that makes me really proud of being a huge metal fan. Is like, you know, I feel like there's a lot of stereotypes of metal fans of where people are like, oh, you're just like into the 80s and 90s metal and like all this other shit. It's like, no, dude, like there's always going to be fresh and new metal that's coming out, you know, every year. Because it's like people are always going to be angry. There's always going to be some shit going on,
right,
you know,
right.
Like, but like coming out of this pandemic, dude, like Gojira's album Fortitude kicked ass, and the album that when I got it, it didn't leave my turntable for at least a week, was the new Napalm Death record, dude. Throes of Joy.
Dude, I haven't heard it yet.
What?
Yeah, I better download that one, huh?
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, it's called Throes of Joy in the Jaws of Defeatism, and this is my opinion, but I think that is by far their best record that they have put out.
No shit.
Yeah, and like my favorites, besides Throes of Joy, had been like Harmony Corruption. And
That's
Utopia.
my favorite one. That's been my favorite one since I was a kid. I love that album. So the Throes of Joy and the Jaws of Defeat, is that how you said?
Yeah, Throes of Joy and the Jaws of Defeatism.
Defeatism, got it. I'm gonna download that fucker right now.
Fuck yeah, dude. Like I fucking bought that album and I threw that on my turntable, and like I love to deep listen to music, especially if it's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
And I sat on my couch like this, and my jaw was on the floor the entire time. I'm like, Napalm Death had effectively done what a lot of, I feel like, old metal bands try to do, where they try to keep their sound,
Yeah.
but progress and sound modern. And they just epitomize that. I mean, it's the angriest I've ever heard that band. The
Dude,
production was insane.
A lot of motherfuckers fall short on that shit too, man. And it's great to hear that. I'm gonna have to take a listen to it now that you said that, because that's something that Carcass is one of those bands for me that their the recent release was, I think it was just an EP that they did. And when I talked to Rob about it, he's like, hey, have you heard the new Carcass? And I didn't. But when I played it, I asked him what he thought about it, and he was like, dude, it left me wanting more. And I remember when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, I definitely want more. See here, find Torn Artery. Oh, look there's even more shit. 10 songs. Look at that. Oh, they're about to release this one. Oh yeah, so they got another one coming out called Torn Arteries that's just about to be released. I'm gonna have to download that shit.
Torn Arteries.
Torn Arteries, yep. But their earliest release, I want to say it was just like a fucking EP or something. In 2020, I thought. Yeah, Despicable. In 2020, they did that EP. And there was only 4 songs on it. And like Rob said, man, it was one of those ones that you're like, yeah, I want more of this shit, man. Yeah, because I love all that old stuff, man. And I really am one of those guys that is dated when it comes to death metal, because it has changed so much. And I do love bands that are modern, and you know, like younger cats that get into this death metal stuff, they think, okay, the stuff that I got into was like the end all be all, and they never go back to the deep dives. You know what I mean? They never go back to the original bands, you know, Entombed and Deicide and Morbid Angel and, you know, Pestilence and Asphyx and, you know what I mean, Cannibal Corpse's old stuff and Deicide's old stuff and Napalm Death and, you know what I mean, Bolt Thrower and Baphomet. And I mean, there's so many great old death metal bands that people should be listening to, going, holy shit, man, I see where these other bands have grown, you know what I mean, and get, you know, like the Black Dahlia Murders and you know, all of them, because a lot of that stuff is just fueled by that old death metal, man, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, I definitely understand, you know, people like kind of being dated with their tastes, because it's like, I mean, people generally gravitate towards that nostalgia, you know, that the music that really, really captured a point in your life is generally in my experience, the shit that you stick to listening for the rest of your life, you know? So I definitely get that. But it's like, you know, to me, it makes me proud when one of my favorite bands, who like have always put out really solid releases, puts out an album that I hold and I'm like, damn, this is like, makes me more passionate about the music that I play and that I listen to, you know. It's like, it's hard to explain. I mean, everybody that's had that feeling knows exactly what I'm talking about, but it's like, I got that. I felt like a kid, you know. I got that, went to the local record stores and I bought the brand new vinyl copy, you know, and it had a poster and shit inside of it. I couldn't wait to get home and throw it on my turntable. And I listened to it and it floored me. And like, I love that about metal and I love that about music in general, you know. And it's like, it's so insane to know that like the genre that you call home is still changing people's lives. It's still changing your life, you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, music in general for me, man, is always that ever moving, ever growing, ever, you know, changing thing for me, man. I like I said, I could not live my life without music. You know what I mean? Like I you know, like I said, this Reggie Watts thing, I just been on this kick. I mean, in the beginning of COVID, I went back to Faith No More and listened to like every album that they had, downloaded every album that they had, and just fell in love with that band all over again. You know what I mean? And then it like spiraled out of control from there. You know what I mean? I'm just picking up all these old bands that I had either deleted from my phone or, you know what I mean? There's like a handful of bands that never leave my phone, you know, like Acid Bath, Agents of Oblivion, Dead Boy and the Elephant Men, you know, some Slayer albums, some DRI albums, some Napalm Death albums, you know what I mean? Like, they're mainstays in my collection. I will never, ever like take them off of my phone for good. You know what I mean? They're like, it's funny because you know, the New Testament album, you know, turned out to be really, really good too. You know what I mean? And you know, going back and deep diving, you know, New Order and, you know, slips my mind now, but you know, you get the idea. I go back and pull those old ones off the shelf and listen to them so much. And I try not to be too stuck in that old rut, you know what I mean? Because I honestly, man, you know, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you naming the albums that you dig and the bands that you dig, and you kind of seem like you shied away from Pink Floyd, you know, where Pink Floyd is one of those bands that you can never ever get, you know what I mean? Like, it'll always be there. It'll always be one of those things. Like, you hear an old Floyd tune and you're like, I remember when I watched The Wall for the first time, you know, like, you know, Dark Side of the Moon or Live in Pompeii or something like that. But yeah, man, that old stuff will always stick with me.
100%. And it's like, David Gilmour, as a guitar player, is one of my biggest influences, because it's like, you know, there's so many, like, a great guitar player is such an ambiguous concept, because there's so many different aspects of musicianship involved in being great. And David Gilmour is one of the greatest ever. And it's, you know, he's not even a technical player. It's all about the emotion that he puts into the guitar.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
And like, I mean, it's insane. Like, the way he just bends notes and even just plays a single note, it completely floors you.
Yeah.
Know?
Yeah. Those faces. I mean, you know, Hendrix for me, and, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan and guys like that are those dudes for me that just, you know, Robin Trower's another one too, that guitar playing where they're just, their faces are, you know, all contorted and they're, you know what I mean? Like you can really feel every single note that they're pulling on, you know, you know what I mean? They're just, you know, totally tuning it out, you know, and yeah, I dig that shit. Music is fucking everything for me, man. I just love all types of shit, and I'll continue to do that, man. And hey, Henry, I appreciate you joining me on the show today, man, and taking the time. And I apologize for the inconvenient shit in the beginning. My big ass feet hit a little something underneath the table and kind of screwed us up here for a little bit. I knocked my recording out. I did get all the audio. So us going figuring it all out. The audio version is intact. The video version is in two different pieces. Like, what did we say? It was like 6 minutes or 8 minutes in the first part of it, or something like the 15 minutes or some shit. So
Yeah.
people will have to watch the beginning and then move it to the other one because I didn't record it. If I was able to record it, I would have been able to go back and edit and have everything together. So I apologize for that, dude. I appreciate you doing the show. I appreciate you being a hard worker, dude, and being true to your craft, man, and continue to learn and playing, dude. Play in that fucking cover band, man. Make some money. Get some fucking, you know what I mean? Get some chops under your wings, man. Enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Like, be a musician. Be proud of it. Have fun.
Fuck yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much for having me on your show. It was a lot of fun, dude.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, if you haven't had a chance, go check out Pursuit, a.k.a. Pursuit of Cash, the old school style. Check them out. Again, you can go to Ritual Madness Podcast on Facebook and scroll down. You'll be able to see their new video. What is that one called again, Henry?
Ill-Fated.
Ill-Fated. Check out Ill-Fated on the podcast website, or you can, you know, look me up, Chilton666 on Facebook. I always, you know, put up all the shows that are coming to town. If you want to listen to the podcast and all of the shows that are coming up all the way into November, go to episode 235. You can go to ritualmadnesspodcast.com, go to the episode tab, and you can listen to that one. Or you can go to Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Take a listen. I've got, you know, the new Cymothwa that just is about to be dropped. August 6th is their CD release party. Make sure you get over there. I do have that somewhere. Here we go. Friday, August 6th, Bad Promoter Productions presents 7 p.m. doors, 8 p.m. show, 21 plus, $5 at the door. Selic and Cymothwa's CD release. And Semtex is on that as well at Club Underground, 355 Monroe Street, Northeast Minneapolis, sponsored by Lobotomy Clothes and Ritual Madness Podcast. Hey, that's me. But I appreciate you guys watching the show. Don't forget to check out Anti-Broadcasting Incorporated. If you're looking to get some t-shirts and stuff, screen printing done, antibroadcasting@gmail.com, or give them a call, 612-836-9488. If you're looking to get some tattoo work done, head over to Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, or give them an email, lowbrowsaints@gmail.com, or give them a call, 612-353-4755. Again, because I do that kind of fast, 612-353-4755. Give Jason a call. Tell him what's up. Give Jules a kiss on the cheek for me. Say what's up to Anna and Justin and all them guys over there. I appreciate you taking your time to come and listen to us and having a good time with us. Henry, you want to say goodbye? Thanks for joining the casting couch, Henry. I appreciate it. All right, folks. You guys have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. And again, you can go to ritualmadnesspodcast.com and listen to all of our past episodes. 236 episodes up there for you to enjoy. 237 will be up this evening or in the next couple days or so. You can always watch this. Again, it's in 2 parts. The beginning got a little fucked up because of my big ass feet and me having a fucking power strip underneath my foot, so I need to switch that up. But thank you again, folks. You have a good evening. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Peace out.